Buttons hit.
Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by
me, Rob, to talk about my favorite topic.
Your timeliness.
No, the tight end.
Oh, called you out.
It was me. It wasn't Drew this time.
Whoa. I'm sorry, I'm one of the 10% of the times maybe we're a few minutes late. It's me. 10% of tops. Yeah.
Probably close to about a 14.7.
8.3. But yeah, this is Rob's favorite position group. What position group we talk about today, Rob?
The tight ends. The tight ends
here. So we're going to go ahead and give you guys a top 10 tight ends in this upcoming draft. Listen, there are some groups every year that are extremely talented, loaded with players who get drafted. We went over 30 running backs, for God's sake. That's ridiculous. But there's so just that many that are going to be drafted. Tight end group, not so much. There's some really good tight ends here, though, too. So it's not that the cupboard is bare in tight ends this year.
Oh,
it's just not quite as packed up as it is typically there. What'd I do?
The cover of tight ends are bare.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Anyway, let's get right into it here. First up, we have the belle of the ball here of tight ends. Tyler Warren of Penn State. This was the guy who was the backup for Theo Johnson last year, guys, at Penn State. I think you all know who Theo Johnson is. If you're watching this channel, you're probably a Giants fan, which means you might be a little familiar with the guys. We drafted him.
You may have heard about us talking about once or twice.
Once or twice, or 3 times, or 20. 6'6", 261 pounds, 22 years old, from Mechanicsville, Virginia, which, contrary to belief, I had to Google this to verify. That's not where all the mechanics in Virginia live. I did go Google it to verify.
Are you sure about that?
Are you sure about that? I'm very sure because I looked it up. 2020, not a single yard. 21, 61 yards and a touchdown. 22, 123 yards and 3 touchdowns. 23, it's the prayer season when he backed up Theo Johnson. 422 yards, 7 touchdowns. 3rd team All Big Ten. And I remember when we were doing scouting on Theo Johnson, this kid did pop up on tape a lot. They did do a lot of double tight end sets because they knew what they had in those two. This year went off. 16 games, 104 catches, 1,233 yards, 8 touchdowns, a 91.3 PFF grade. Won the John Mackey Award as the best tight end of the country. 1st team All-American. Big Ten tight end of the year. Which, first off, that's crazy. It's an actual award called the Big Ten tight end of the year. Like, usually he would just be 1st team All Big Ten. Which he was, by the way, as well. I'm just saying it's weird to call it that. He also was the MVP of the Fiesta Bowl there today. Everyone loves a good party. And, yeah, he is, guys, literally the best tight end by far on this draft class. There's not even a close second. That's how far apart there is. He's here. There's one guy that's down here, and everybody else is kind of down there. That's basically where we're at with this draft class. He's tough. He's good in screens. He can pretty much line up anywhere. He's athletic. He's a good effort blocker. But that's also a good way of saying he tries hard. Let's be honest.
He's not the best at blocking, but he'll do it.
He tries his darndest, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He does have trouble holding on to blocks, though, especially in pass protection as well. The only weakness in his game as far as receiving wise is he does have trouble separating on vertical routes. Like if you need him to just flat out run a 9 route down the seam, he's going to have a little trouble with that separation there because he doesn't have some of that elite burst sometimes like that. But a great route runner that makes up for a lot of that there. He does need to improve the route tree, though. There's a couple moves he just does that just very, very well. And you can get by with that in college. Once you get to the NFL, you got to keep developing that, or eventually someone's going to figure you out. And he's still considered very raw, which is a just mirrors every single year we talk about Penn State players as extremely raw. At what point do we say Penn State is really good at recruiting but really bad at developing?
I guess I was about to say, because the raw statement's pretty sore. So anyway, carrying on.
The raw tight end?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I feel like there's every single year there's players that are coming out that are very good at the Penn State. And like I said, they get great players. But there's players every single year that are like, you know what, there's still some room for growth here. There's still room for improvement. Don't get me wrong, every player coming out of the draft has room for improvement. That's
part of the reason why you draft them, because if they play like they do in college, they're not going to make it in the NFL. I
feel like they just come out like some of these guys as like guys. If you look, you're going based on potential. At least he had the 1,200 some odd yards and everything. You can say he definitely put it on the field as well, but I don't think he's fully mastered some of the stuff he will master once he hits the NFL. I really don't. I think this is a kid you put in there right off the bat as your starting tight end, whoever gets him. And I know the Jets have been targeted towards him a lot, I've heard, which I think is a little early for him there. But listen, if you need a big thing, this is the big tight end of the draft. I think he's going to be that guy who's going to be more of a pass catching, specifically, tight end that's going to eventually develop into a better all around because he puts through the effort. It just gets you're going to put the work in. I'm not concerned about that. But I think in the beginning, you got to recognize that you may want to put a running back behind him in some of the pass protections. If you keep him in as a blocker, you may want to go ahead and maybe utilize him more as a passer, as a receiver than an actual blocker in those scenarios. Even just try to take away some of that as best you can until he gets better at it. But he's going to be good. I don't want to say he's going to be a Brock Bowers good. That'd be crazy.
Well, even Brock Bowers coming out of college, it was hard to say that Brock Bowers would be what Brock Bowers was.
Exactly. But it wouldn't shock me at all wherever he goes if he gets 600-700 yards receiving as a rookie, which would be a really good rookie season for most tight ends. Like that's usually a position that takes a year or two to develop. That's usually a position, by the way, it's also a crapshoot in the draft always.
Yeah. And it's like also one that's, it's a hit or miss, which is, everyone says it, but it's like, there's a lot of hype a lot of times around tight ends, and they take them way too early, and it just doesn't pan out. And it's usually like those 3rd, 4th round tight ends.
Looking at you, Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. That comes out there, and they look really good and play well. So
looking at you, George Kittle.
Yep. So this is a guy that looks like you could take him in the 1st round, and he could be one of those guys.
And I think he benefits because of what Brock Bowers did. Because Brock Bowers, in reality, people knew he was one of the top 5 talent in the draft, basically, if you take out the positional value thing. And he sat for a little bit because of the fact that, let's be honest, we said a lot of 1st-round tight ends, it just doesn't quite pan out. But now that one did, pan out to historic numbers. Literally the most catches ever as a rookie. You're looking at a guy now that's going to benefit from that because people are like, oh, look, this could be the next Brock Bowers. It's very much a monkey see, monkey do kind of league, guys. Very much so.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I wouldn't expect Brock Bowers, but I do expect a 600-700 yard kind of season out of him as a rookie. And I don't think that's crazy.
Which, you come out as a rookie, you're probably average in the tight end in the NFL.
That's above average as a rookie. That's like you're like B tier running B tier kind of tight end at that point there already as a rookie. So that's not too shabby at all. All right. Next up here. Now there's 2 different tight ends that are really top of this class. You got Tyler Warren is by far number 1. There's a very clear cut number 2 though as well with this. And that's Colston Loveland, who besides having the name of a porn star, it just sounds like it, right? Like
100%. Any place tight end, it just sounds like he has a future career.
But he's a damn good player. So comes out of Michigan, 6'5", 245 pounds. He's just 20 years old. He does turn 21 before the draft here. From Goldendale, Washington. Though he did grow up in Gooding, Idaho. One of those middle places. I don't know.
Yeah, potatoes. Gotcha.
So in 22, 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, 23, 649 yards and 4 touchdowns. First team all Big Ten. Now keep in mind, Big Ten typically has really good tight ends, which is why they have a Big Ten tight end of the year award, as we talked about with Tyler Warren. This is typically with the area of the college football that just produces tight ends. There's a lot of hype coming into this year. And I don't think people expected necessarily Tyler Warren to do what Tyler Warren did. And they thought that Loveland would be the number 1 tight end basically overall. So we did drop a little bit by going number 2, but I wouldn't call that a big drop off there. And he's definitely, I think, a more polished tight end than Warren is. You're going with a little more NFL ready as opposed to projected talent overall there. And he's also not as good a receiver, obviously, but still a solid season. 10 games, 56 catches, 582 yards, 5 touchdowns, 85.9 PFF grade, second team All-American, and second team All Big Ten. And like I said, clearly, by far, the number 2 tight end on the board. Great routes. The guy literally moves like a wide receiver. He really, like, the way this kid runs routes. Like, if you need a security blanket for a quarterback here, now obviously whoever gets him probably is going to select him in the first round. So I think probably tail end of the first round. But whoever gets him, if they have a young quarterback, I'm talking like Carolina, for example, this kid's going to be a good security blanket kind of tight end. I really feel like that's going to be more of his role. He's going to be the guy that does the short routes. It's kind of just always open. He's going to be the guy that's going to go ahead and, run some trick routes and some screens and stuff like that. He's very good at that as well. The physicality is his issue, though. He's not a great run blocker. He's just not very physical in general. He has trouble with contested catches. And, it's all the same thing. It's the physical play style is what he's lacking that you like out of a top chip tight end. And I don't know if that's a personality thing or if he just needs to put on a couple extra pounds to go spend a little extra time in the gym. But it's the one thing he's missing to make him a good all-around. Like I said, you're looking at a guy like Tyler Warren, and he's by far the best receiving tight end in this draft. Not even close second. Yeah. Loveland is a much better all-around tight end than most of the guys on this list. And like I said, pretty much everybody but Warren. That's what does it, because he's a good blocker, not a great blocker. He's a solid receiver. He's a security blanket. But he's still missing that physicality that you really want out of that kind of tight end. It's like you got a guy that's, again, the security blanket tight end who plays like the uber athlete tight end, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? That kind of soft play style that you get out of some of the, tight ends out there. And it's a weird mix. It's a weird mix.
Yeah.
I hate playing calling players soft, but
yeah, tight end recently it's been like it's a weird thing because we're stuck up on like old school tight ends where
I love old school tight ends.
Yeah, it's more of like block first, get a little open, get a little.
Give me a Jeremy Shockey any day of the week, minus the attitude.
Oh yeah, well Shockey, I mean he also kind of he was like that time in the league when it started changing where they really went downfield.
Oh yeah.
Compared to like a little chip shot, like, oh, pockets close in, tight end.
Yep. We went from Howard Cross, who caught 1 catch a year, to Jeremy Shockey, who was like the best receiving tight end when he first came out.
Yeah.
It was crazy difference. But this, like I said, I think Loveland has that chance to be that good all-around tight end. I don't think he's ever going to be elite. I don't think he's ever going to be the guy that you go send him to the Pro Bowl. But I think he is that guy that you can sit there and put in and go, you know what? He's good all around. And I'd rather have good all around than great at something and bad at something else sometimes.
Yeah.
If I want to do a comparison, I hate doing comparisons, but I'm going to give you a comparison to the type of career I think he's going to have. Heath Miller, former Steelers tight end. I think that's the type of guy he's going to be. A guy that's going to get, 500-600 yards a season, may have a couple of years where he maxes out above that, gets like 7 or 8. Going to be a decent blocker, going to be a good locker room guy, going to be around for a while in the league. That's what I think he's going to be.
Say Heath Miller,
Yeah.
a solid long career.
Yeah, he's no Tony Gonzalez, but he's still solid career. Solid career. And I think that's where he's going to be. And I think if you get a guy like Heath Miller in the late end of the first round, you're not too upset.
Yeah.
So, all right. Next up is a guy that, I got to say, I don't know what to even think of this kid. Watched a lot of tape in him, and I don't know what to think of him fully here. And that's Harold Fannin Jr. at a Bowling Green. When's the last time we talked about a player from Bowling Green in the show, guys? Woo.
Never?
I think so. It might be a first for us, seriously. 6'4", 230 pounds. So definitely on the lighter end, that's for sure. And he is 20 years old, so he's still very young. So he might, still fill out there a little bit there. From Canton, Ohio. If that sounds familiar, yes, that is that Canton, Ohio, the home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Be kind of cool if he just have a great career and ends up there. Has there ever been a guy from Canton, Ohio, in Canton, Ohio?
Go home.
Like, how bad would that be? Retirement speech. Oh, well, I guess I'll get an Uber.
Yeah.
Maybe an Uber for the Pro Football Hall of Fame commencement speech here.
And someone drive me home.
But like I said, he's a guy that you look at on paper. And I know the phrase is used a lot, especially when you're scouting players, men amongst boys, or look to be on a different level. But that's exactly what this kid was. So 22, 218 yards and a touchdown, 23, 623, and 6 touchdowns, was first team All-Mac already at that point.
All macaroni.
This time he put the mac and cheese together, okay? 24, 13 games, 117 catches, 1,555 yards, 10 touchdowns. Consensus All-American, MAC Offensive Player of the Year, first team All-MAC, and the MVP of the 68 Ventures Bowl. Ridiculous. 1,555 yards.
That's
from the tight end position. That is absolutely insanity. The kid was absolutely unstoppable. He was hard to get down. He had good run running. He was, good at breaking through tackles. Good blocker for his size as well. Again, he's 230 yards, 230 pounds.
Good to say.
I still think that he needs to put some weight on. That's for sure. I think that's going to be trouble in the NFL at that kind of weight. He needs to put a good 10, 15 pounds on at least, I think. But like I said, for his size, he did not mind putting the fight in at that point to be the guy that tried to block. He just definitely have trouble with some of the bigger guys, though, because, again, 230 pounds. I think, actually, DK Metcalf is probably bigger than him.
He is. DK is like 245.
Yeah, DK Metcalf, 6'4", 235. So, yeah, he's basically DK Metcalf minus 5 pounds. Just to put it in perspective how small he is. Don't get me wrong, DK Metcalf is a massive receiver.
I was supposed to say he's a massive receiver.
But I'm just throwing that out there to give you a perspective of his size difference compared to where he should be. Probably.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's also definitely some lighter receivers out there that's quite small. Like, who's our former tight end that was that's in Jacksonville? I just want to play his name.
Oh, Evan Ingram?
Yeah.
He's not. He's actually in Denver now. They cut him.
They did. I'm saying, but how big is he?
Yeah.
Especially coming out of the draft.
Now,
because he was a lanky kind of guy himself.
He was. Now, here's the biggest thing we got to talk about with Harold Fannin here. So Fannin ran at the combine. He ran a 40-yard dash. Now, 40-yard dash, as I've said it forever, combine is the underwear Olympics. It shouldn't change anything. It should only reinforce things you think. The interviews there matter more than the actual, tests and stuff like that.
Yes.
For all all you guys know what we talk about as far as the greatest 40-yard times, 4.2, 4.3, that kind of stuff there. Anything like the tight end you still want him on like 4.5. His 40-yard dash time, guess what it was? 4.71.
Yeah, there's defensive linemen running faster than that.
Yes. So the biggest thing that I keep on asking myself while watching the film on him was how much of his success is him being very good at what he does, and how much of it is he's facing lesser talent. And you have no way of knowing until you put him in front of that better talent. You really don't. And that's the problem you run into is how do you go ahead and judge a player that you never really get to see, playing legit talent? And we talk about this with plenty of other guys. We said it with Colorado even, we've said it. But Colorado played much better, guys than Bowling Green. That's just where they're at.
Yeah, but you also have to take into consideration as well as when you go to the schools and you play the less talent, you have to beat up on that talent to show that you're worth something. And there's only so much beating up you can do in a single game as a tight end. So there's that as well. So you could question one, but also have to think about the other. So until you bring someone into practice or bring them into your facility, look at them, you don't know who you have. When it comes to running the 40-yard dash, there's a lot of things that fall into there. You don't know.
It sounds like he fell in there and got up. He had enough time to fall and get up.
Sounds like it, but who knows? He may have not been putting all in that day because he just wants to get to the NFL. He might if
that doesn't help. Maybe he wasn't giving a full effort.
Yeah, but if a couple teams that he's looking at that he wants to go to, if he wants to play that, you hope people don't sandbag, but who knows?
I know.
If you're talking about how hard he is to get down, it's kind of in watching college film too. He wasn't the fastest, but it looks like 4.7's really slow. For what he was doing.
It's ridiculous, and it's
that's what I'm saying.
How did that work? Because,
but I'm saying you watch the highlights, you watch his film, then watch what he did in the draft, in the combine. It's was that the same running?
But so keep in mind, Bowling Green is one of those teams that people play early in the year when they're trying to fluff their schedule and get people all excited and start a positive note. So here's some of the teams they faced: Arkansas State, Miami of Ohio, Ball State, Western Michigan, Central Michigan, Toledo, Kent State, Northern Illinois, Akron, Old Dominion. Not great schools really to play. Fordham University, they played Fordham. They played two legit teams this year: Penn State, Texas A&M. Here's his numbers in those games, because I want to use that as kind of a gauge to a certain degree, because it's the only two times I saw him play legit talent. And here he is. 11 catches, 137 yards, and a touchdown against Penn State. By the way, Tyler Warren in that same game, 8 catches, 147 yards. No touchdowns. You can make the case he actually outplayed Tyler Warren in that game. Texas A&M. That's his other one. Now, Texas A&M. Let's see here. Individual stats for him. 8 catches, 145 yards, and a touchdown. So he's got legit abilities against those two teams. The only two teams that he played that I could sit there and say are legit, teams that I want to watch your film on to see how you do.
Yeah, and he more improved himself as tight end.
He did. And that's where I'm kind of I'm so confused watching him, because I'm how the hell does he play like that with that kind of lack of speed? But there he does. He did it. So I think it's going to take some time to develop. I think the weight's going to be an issue. I do think, though, that he's going to be a day 2 pick, and I think someone's going to have to be just a little bit patient with him. And I think he's going to really have a potential to be a really good player in this league. But he also has the potential to be really much a bust. This is a boom or bust pick in my eyes.
Yeah, It's fair to say.
Yeah. Like I said, the two things he has going for them is those two games. That's the two things where I go, you know what? Maybe he's going to be good because that's legit numbers against two legit teams. By the way, when he's the only good player.
Yeah.
Just not trying to be mean about it, but Bowling Green's not exactly surrounding him with talent everywhere.
No.
So, all righty. Next up.
Coming up next.
Terrence Ferguson, LSU.
Fergalicious.
Which that is not Terrence Ferguson in that picture, by the way. I'll have to change that later. Oopsies.
Fergalicious.
So 6'5", 247 pounds from Littleton, Colorado. Now, he did not graduate from Columbine. I did look that up out of curiosity. Because that's what Littleton, everybody goes to Littleton, Colorado. That's what they go in their head is to Combine because that was that. I think probably like the first big school shooting there.
Oh.
We can't talk about it too much. YouTube will hate us.
Yeah.
Can't talk about that stuff.
Carrying on.
We don't talk about Bruno. 6'5", like I said, 247, so good size there. In 2021, 141 yards, 2 touchdowns. 22, 391, 5 touchdowns. In 23, 414 yards, 6 touchdowns. Was first team all. Hold on, what the heck is my notes? My notes are all messed up here.
Oh geez.
This is the problem with shooting things live here. This is the problem with shooting things live here. Let's go. Let's go
with the student comments after we just talked about.
We're gonna go into and start this fresh and new here. Hold on one second here. You know what it is? My notes somehow combine two different people. And you know what the ironic thing is? It's the two people that I had on the two people that I had there on the picture. Oh my gosh.
Terrible.
Give me 1 second to undo that real quick here. You know what? We're going to pay the bills real quick because that'll give us a chance to finish this real quick. Live from New York, it's Saturday night.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
All righty, there we go. Now, guess what we're going to do? We're going to start fresh and new here because now I realize my mistake. We're here to talk today about Terrence Ferguson from Oregon.
He's pretty delicious.
From Oregon. Anyway, yes, 6'5", 247 pounds from Littleton, Colorado, and the like I said, the stats I had were actually on there. Let me make sure that's all correct. So I had that issue there. Yep. So you got 141 yards, 2 touchdowns in 21, 391, 5 touchdowns in 22, 414 and 6 touchdowns in 23. First team all Pac-12. Goes into this year now, 12 games, 43 catches, 591 yards and 3 touchdowns. Third team all Big Ten. This is the problem moving from the Pac-12, but there's not a lot of great tight ends, to the Big Ten, which probably gets the best, like I said, conference for
the best, sir.
Yeah, so he went from first team all Pac-12, gets a better season, goes down to third team all Big Ten. Is that not right there? Big catch radius. I mean, long arms, big hands, able to jump high, like that. All the things you want out of a big body receiver there. Great acceleration from the line, great hands, great in the red zone as well. Specific. I talked about his ability to jump. He's also got a great ability to box out as well. This is a guy that if you're missing that, like a red zone threat, that guy you can just pop in and play jump ball and win on a consistent basis, this is probably the guy for you. Willing blocker. He does lack elite speed, though. He is not the guy that you're going to run up the seam and have a 70-yard touchdown bomb with. It's just not who he is. Does have trouble with power rushers as well. And occasionally, as a receiver, he does have trouble getting off press coverage. So those two things combined, what does that tell you? Trouble with power rushers, has trouble with press coverage.
He's a Beefcake 5000.
It's time to hit the gym.
Yeah.
I mean, some of that's going to be technique, though, too. Because some of that is hand placement and
100%.
had to figure out how to get off of a press
What's
coverage
hip
like
placement
that.
too? You're
You
talking
know,
about 6'5". Like he's got to get down low.
yeah,
Get out of
low,
there.
low.
How low can you go?
We got some really tall tight ends this draft, by the way. That is a common theme you'll see throughout. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a guy that I feel like he's probably not going to ever be a great tight end. I feel like he's going to be like a really good tight end too, if that makes sense. I think he's a guy that's probably going to be another day 2 guy, like a second, third round kind of guy. There's a couple of guys that are kind of in that, and it's funny because we did our rankings and look at everybody else's rankings afterwards to kind of see, are we crazy? And after the first 3, there is no consensus picks, guys. Like everybody's like all over the place on these guys.
That's
And
what you like.
there's like the tier 1 for Warren. You got like kind of tier 2 with the next 2, and then you got like a tier 3 of like 3 or 4 guys. Everybody kind of mixes up that order. So this is the first of that tier 3 there with Ferguson. Like I said, day 2 guy. I think he's going to be a solid player in this league. I don't think he's ever going to go crazy. He might be a low end starter for somebody there to maybe mid range starter as like absolute ceiling for him. But I just think that's what it is there. Is where he's going to be. He's going to be that kind of player there. So, but like I said, not a bad player. I think he's going to have a solid role in this league. I do. And I think he's going to have a nice long career as well.
Yeah, I think so. He's going to be the guy that, once again, he's going to be the red zone threat. He's not going to get you a lot of deep balls. So if you're in fantasy, like this might be one of your guys to set up for tight ends if you get him late.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you have somebody that's more of a blocking tight end in front of him.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be that red zone threat. And you're going to put him in big formations with double tight end and just chuck it up to him. You know, I can see all day long people doing, run fakes and just tossing the ball up to him. He's got that ability.
We see like Seattle taking a guy like this.
You never know. They did release Noah Fant, I think, in the offseason.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely possible. That's for sure. All right. Next up, we go to a guy who would be a second-generation NFL player. Mason Taylor, son of the great Jason Taylor. So yeah, that's a pretty good bloodline to be a part of if you want to play football. LSU, 6'5", 255 pounds, 20 years old, from Plantation, Florida, which is really South Florida, by the way. Outside like Miami area there. 22, 414 yards, 3 touchdowns. 23, 348 yards and a touchdown. 24, 12 games, 55 catches, 546 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he's got great hands. He's great also at finding holes in zone defenses. Like we say all the time with these kids that are like the son of players. Like we said it with Shador. We said it with, like Marvin Harrison Jr. last year. When you get guys who are like raised around football, they typically have a high football IQ and they're typically very, foundationally there as far as like the fundamentals are a key thing that they have down pat. That's exactly what Taylor is. When I say finding holes in zone defenses, it's like he's been reading defenses his whole life, and he probably has been.
You have to imagine.
Yeah. Quick at direction changes. That he's definitely that guy that he's got that shiftiness to him there. He does struggle with pass rushers and needs work on run blocking overall. Again, this is a typical thing with a lot of tight ends coming into this league. They have trouble with blocking. They're usually not in NFL pro style offenses very often. He does also lack elite burst. So that's the one thing, is he counts on his moves to get free and get some separation, as opposed to being faster off the line with the guy in front of him there. I would say he's probably going to be like a late day 2 kind of guy, probably round 3 kind of guy. But I do think that he's somebody, again, that's going to carve himself out a role in this league here. And one of these guys we're talking about that are like day 2 guys like that. I should say 2 of them, because you also got Fannin's got the chance to be a starter in this league. But I feel like one of the other guys too is going to have a chance to be a legit starter in this league. Like somebody's going to steal a starting job from somebody else in this group we're talking about here right now. And maybe it's Mason Taylor. Maybe it's not. We'll find out.
Could be. Stay tuned.
Next up, Elijah Arroyo. Now, this is one of those guys that, like, Another guy I struggle with as far as scouting wise, because there's a lot of potential here. A lot of potential good and a lot of potential bad.
Yeah.
Arroyo comes out of Miami, 6'4", 245 pounds, 21 years old, went to high school in Frisco, Texas, in 21, 86 yards and a touchdown, 22, 66 yards, 23, 11 yards. Now, those are not good numbers, guys.
Yeah, but there's a reason.
There's a reason. It's injuries. He had an ACL tear, cost him a lot of 22 and a lot of 23. Yeah, he comes back, gets healthy this year, 13 games, 35 catches, 590 yards, 7 touchdowns, and a 71.7 PFF grade. Now, this is all, keep in mind, coming off of ACL tear. We talked about this before. ACL tears take some time. You don't come back from an ACL tear usually fully 100% that first time.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying he's hard to grade, because I don't feel like I've ever really seen him fully healthy. And that's the thing that makes me go, potential. Maybe he's better than people think because of that. It also makes me go, potential to stay on the IR your whole career.
It also makes you think, never really developed in college. It's coming into the draft. Now you have to develop into an NFL role. So maybe he stays healthy, but just maybe doesn't make it.
Yeah, I feel like this is a guy that, let's say you need a tight end in this draft, and you have a couple of holes, or you couldn't get one of the top 3 guys, and you want to go like boom or bust kind of guy. Arroyo's your boom or bust guy. You're going to really be happy you drafted him, or you're going to be, God damn, we wasted this draft pick.
Yeah.
That's where I feel like he's going to be at there. By the way, a lot of what people thought about him was going to hinge on the combine too. There's a lot of people, he thought he's going to be the combine workhorse. He would just beat everybody out because he's going to be faster, bigger, stronger, all that kind of stuff. Because he is a guy that, you look at him, he's a big guy. Like he looks bigger than 6'4", 245. Like he looks like a guy who's more like 6'2", 255. Like he's got a bigger build than you would think based on his measurables there. But he couldn't work out at the combine because of a knee injury. There's a theme. There's a theme going here. So again, if you want to get a guy like late day 2, like 3rd round, maybe even slips to the 4th round potentially because of the injuries, depending on what happens medically with them. Because again, we don't have medical records, guys. He could have a horrible knee that's going to be an issue forever that any doctor could tell you. We would have no clue. We shouldn't have any clue for the record either. It's personal medical stuff.
Yeah, it's like a HIPAA law or something.
Exactly. And it should be. Like I said, it's none of our business in the end. It's just, as somebody trying to scout him as a player, I can't include that. So I have to put that as part of that. It's kind of an asterisk. If I think he's going to be a 3rd round player, may very well slip down to the 4th round potentially. But the medicals are there. You don't know. Like, look at it. Like, I'll use it for Giants terminology. Like Azeez Ojulari dropped at the end of the 2nd round because of medical concerns. We thought it might be drafting him in the 1st round. We didn't know. Nobody had any way of knowing. So Arroyo's draft status will probably be 100% based on his medicals.
Probably. Because I think he goes day 3.
I said he could. I think very early on day 3. I don't think he's going to drop unless there's like a major red flag. But
no, but I think it, like, you're just going to look at that. Like, you're going to like, do I want to waste a 3rd round on that right now?
Depends on how bad you need a tight end.
Yeah, and I think it's going to go 4th round.
It's like saying, are the Giants really going to waste a pick on a 3rd overall pick for a quarterback? Well, yeah, because they might need one.
It's a little different.
But that's where you look at it. It's the same kind of scenario, different position, same outcome. You wouldn't force the pick in the 1st round and go get somebody who's a 3rd round grade in your 1st round. But maybe you'd say, it's the 3rd round. We haven't got a tight end yet. I really need one. Maybe you take that risk.
Maybe.
So, but he's very fast, a big playability. Like, he's got really nice highlights like that. Great route running. It does create separation just purely based on his running. He's a very willing blocker, but not necessarily a great one. But it's going to need some work in the NFL there. Like I said, I like him a lot on film. I really do. The medicals scare the poop out of me.
Yeah.
That's where it boils down to. So, hopefully for his sake, he can get healthy. But who knows? Who knows? Next up, a guy with probably the most militaristic name in the entire NFL draft history. Gunner at the helm for Gunner Helm. Oh my gosh.
Best of the best, sir.
Yeah. Out of Texas, 6'5", 250 pounds, 22 years old, from Englewood, Colorado. 2021, not a single yard, 44 yards in 22, 192 yards and 2 touchdowns in 23. So keep this in mind here. It's 236 yards in 3 years. Not great. This year, 16 games, 60 catches, 786 yards, 7 touchdowns, and a 62.3 PFF grade. Second team All SEC. I would say that's a hell of a fourth season after those first 3.
A great jump, if you will.
I'll tell you, if I was somebody scouting him on an NFL team, not just for the show, the very first question I'd be asking all of the coaching staff at LSU, at Texas, is what the hell changed? What happened to make Gunner all of a sudden flip that switch? What did he learn? What did you teach him? Because something changed big time in Helm in that senior season there. Now, part of it's playing time, to be honest. He had, some guys blocking him for much of his career. And to his credit, he stuck around. But I feel like if he showed the ability to have an almost 800-yard season as a receiver, he probably would have got more playing time early on. So something had to have changed.
Or you just never showed the potential until, it was too late. They're like,
maybe he's a bad practicer.
Could be.
He's an above average talent. He's great at bringing down tough catches. He's a jump ball guy. Good size. He's a good route runner, though I wouldn't call him a great one, but he is a good one. He doesn't have elite home run speed. He does have trouble physical coverage and needs to work on run blocking. I would say day 2, round 3 kind of guy again. But this is the guy I feel like you bring in specifically when you need that guy that's like your slot receiver tight end, if that makes sense. Like, he's not necessarily the guy that you go in line with, but he's a guy that you can bring out on passing downs for right now as like a extra slot receiver. That's a huge matchup problem, by the way. 6'5", 250 pounds and good in jump balls. Like, that is a matchup issue. But he's not the guy that's every down tight end right now. Could he be? It's very possible. He could develop into that. But as of right now, he's not that guy. And you're getting him specifically because you think he provides something in the receiving game right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, he's great size. And there's something with that size that you could work on, some of the run blocking, which he needs work on. So do a little work there and use him a little play action.
But what's weird is he got the size. Like, we talk about guys that are like 230 and like he needs help. Well, obviously he needs help. He's 230 pounds. He needs to go to the freaking Golden Corral and hang out with Eddie Lacy for a little bit. But 250 pounds. What's going on? Is he just not have that killer instinct, so to speak? Because if that's the case, is he better off losing 20 pounds than being a slot receiver? Tall slot receiver, but.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know these things, again, because I can't sit there and have these questions and speak to the Texas staff. Like, I'd love to find out more about this kid and what's going on. Because I look at how bad he was blocking and I look at how good he was receiving. And something don't add up here. And then the fact that he wasn't doing anything on the field basically for 3 years, now all of a sudden is that guy. Getting himself 4 or 5 catches a game and making an impact in every game he's in. That's something. So, we'll see. That's something, again, I wish we had those conversations, but that's where I got him at. I got him at a day 2, probably a third round kind of pick. And I think someone's going to pick him hoping they can teach him how to block and turn him into something. But at the very least, he's going to turn into a guy who is like I said, a passing tight end that comes in like a tall slot receiver, especially in red zone threat kind of situations.
Yeah, I can see that. Third round picks, definitely like where I would see him.
Yeah. Hey, third round. Still third round.
Yeah.
All right. We got 3 more guys. 3 more.
Mitchell
Evans at the Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
He's no hunchback. 6'5", 260 pounds, 22 years old, from Wadsworth, Ohio. That just sounds like a bad town, right?
It does.
Where are you from? I'm from Wadsworth. It sounds like a crappy town in like that's like it meant to sound crappy in a children's book. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we don't like people from Wadsworth.
They're just so watchful.
I just we are officially getting banished from the Wadsworth, Ohio Chamber of Commerce meetings and all these things. I'm actually looking up the town now because now I kind of feel bad. It actually looks really nice. I'm not even kidding. It looks really nice. It's like it's kind of middle of nowhere kind of thing there. That's for sure. I'm like it's like far. It's like outside of Akron, but it's not like right there outside of Akron. So it's probably very, very cold. So I would never live there. But it actually does look nice in the pictures. Anyway, we've spent enough time talking about Wadsworth here. 2021, 21 yards, 22, 39 yards, and a touchdown, 23, 422 yards, and a touchdown. Now, he got really into a big start that year in 23, but then had an ACL tear. Another ACL tear guy. And that was after having a broken foot the year before. So, back-to-back years with the injury issues. Comes back this year, 16 games, 43 catches, 421 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 65.3 PFF grade. He's great with contested catches. He's a good blocker. He's not overly athletic, and he does also have trouble separating in man coverage, which is a lot of that because of the athleticism, I think. I think if you pick this guy, you pick him because he's a solid tight end. You think you can develop him. And you think that also you can go ahead and potentially go ahead and get him into a scenario where you develop him, he gets a little healthier because the ACL tear coming back from that, and you make him into a good tight end there. Notre Dame's another one of those places that's just had good tight ends lately. And it's funny how you see the same exact schools every year, Texas, Penn State, I wouldn't say Bowling Green, but Michigan, Iowa. Like you get these same schools every single year for tight end specifically. Some schools know how to do it. And they're one of those schools. So if you're going to take the risk on being able to develop somebody and someone coming back from injuries, why not take the risk on somebody who's got a school from a school that has a history of producing good tight ends? It makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
So I would take it out. Yeah. And again, he's going to be that all-around tight end, that security blanket tight end. He's not going to be the elite guy. He's not going to be the guy that you throw a 30-yard bomb down the field for. Like, he's not that guy. He's just a good, solid tight end that's still developing and still trying to get time on the field because of the injury issues he's had. So, again, medicals are key. Medicals are key. But this is a guy that is healthy as of right now. So check him out. If everything looks good medical-wise, maybe you take a shot on him. You could do a lot worse. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree.
Now we got the guy that literally has the award for longest last name in the NFL draft. I don't even know if he does or not.
I don't think so. Jake
Bringingstool. I always mispronounce it because Bringingstool. It's like, it just sounds like it's got an extra syllable in there. It really does. Out of Clemson, 6'6", 240 pounds from Brentwood, Tennessee there. 2021, 67 yards, 22, 285 yards, 23, 498 yards, 13 all ACC. This past year, 13 games, 49 catches, 530 yards, 7 touchdowns, and a 59.8 PFF grade. Third team all ACC yet again. He's athletic enough to run deep threat routes, which is nice. Got a really nice catch radius. He could add some strength, though. He's also not the best at run blocking. Like, he is that guy that, again, big player, should be better at blocking than he is, just not good at it, but he's also very fast and he's a decent receiver. He's another guy you're going to, if you want to bring him on, you bring him on for what he can do receiving wise. and you see if you can develop him the rest of the way. I think he's probably going to be a career backup. He's got the off chance to be a starter here if he can get the blocking down. But I think he's just going to be a receiving tight end backup in this league, basically. I'd say round 3, round 4, right around that kind of range for him at that point there. Could drop a little more depending on, what people think of him overall, because again, we never know what NFL teams think. But I see enough with the receiving that I can see him carving out a role on a team somewhere.
I agree for the most part. I do think he's going to drop. Definitely be a day 3 kind of guy. I don't think it's the 3rd round. Like, I think he's going to drop a little more. With a lot of the tight ends coming out, I see him going like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, so we'll say 4. Since I'm saying 3, 4, you're saying 4 or 5. We'll just say round 4.
Fair enough.
Okay. Here comes Nick Lachey's son. No, I'm kidding. It's not, but it's Luke Lachey. It'd be funny if he was Nick Lachey's son.
He is in a boy band, though.
Yeah. Now, Iowa is, again, called Tight End University. This is the list of tight ends coming out of Iowa that are currently in the league, okay? It's pretty damn good, guys. Like, you're talking like it's a Pro Bowl team of tight ends, basically. That's where it's at. And it's like almost like LSU, like how they are as a as a wide receiver school, but here they are as the tight end school version. So George Kittle, TJ Hawkinson, Sam Laporta, Brandon Myers, and Noah Fant. All from the same school, guys. You have 5 legitimate starting caliber tight ends, 3 of which are Pro Bowl caliber, all coming from the same school. And again, are all in the NFL right now. You're talking within the last, 6-7 years. I think the oldest one is probably George Kittle. If I had to guess off the top of my head. And George Kittle's 31. So you're really talking in the last 10 years. That's all the tight ends come out of there.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a school for tight ends. So what's going to happen when you're looking at scouting tight ends and a kid's coming out from Iowa? Do you think you might take a look at him?
You'd be silly not to.
6'6", 247 pounds, 23 years old. Went to high school in Grandview Heights, Ohio. Ohio. Now he also is a legacy NFLer here. His father is Jim Lachey, who is 3-time Pro Bowl left tackle, played from 85 to 95, including 88 to 95 with Washington. So he was member of 2 of their 3 Super Bowl teams back in the Joe Gibbs days there. So first year at Iowa, not a single catch. 21, he had 133 yards. 22, he had 398 yards. 23, 131 yards. Not great yardage here so far. This year, 12 games, 28 catches, 230 yards, no touchdowns, and a 58.8 PFF grade. Now, you might be sitting there saying, God damn, that's bad numbers. Like, why would you put this guy in the top 10? Here's why. 1, he's from Iowa. Sorry, that gets you a lot of look right there because you're from a school that produces good tight ends. Part of why they produce them is they play in a pro-style offense for tight ends. Tight ends, we've talked before on this episode even. Tight end is a crapshoot when you're trying to draft them because a lot of them, they aren't in NFL-style offenses. And it's hard to judge how to do an NFL offense when they're not in an NFL offense. So when you get a school that literally is prepping these guys with years of an NFL-style tight end offense, it helps them to hit the ground running when they go into a pro-style system in the NFL now because they're used to it. Beyond that, legacy guy, like I said, I hate to say it, it's the nepotism is real, but when you got a guy who literally came from a family with an NFLer on there, they have an early edge compared to a lot of the other kids out there. That's just life, especially at blocking. When you're a left tackle, to look to is your dad.
Yeah.
Like, you think he might have taught him a few things about blocking, and he is a really good blocker too as well. The only issue he does have is he does have trouble sustaining blocks sometimes in longer passes. If he's got to really hold on to it for like 3-4 Mississippi, he's gonna have trouble. You want him for a second to hit and keep a guy there, he'll do it though. He's not a dynamic athlete, but he does have a huge catch radius. The big thing for me is he's not great at anything, and this is sad to say on a scouting report, but he's also not bad. I didn't say horrible, even not bad at anything. He's average to above average in every category, basically. Though he's not elite in anything. And there's something to be said at the tight end position about that. This is a kid that's I'm telling you right now, he's gonna find a way into the NFL. He's gonna be a legit NFL player. He'll never be a starter, but he'll be that guy that's on the team for 10 years as a backup tight end.
Yep.
That's what I think he's going to be. And I think somewhere around that round 3 to round 5, depending on how much people want to take a risk on the kid and think you can develop him because he's going to hit the ground running, knowing the NFL systems, and you can just teach a couple little things and maybe twerk just a little bit there and tweak him just a little bit to get him right. But I think in the end, it all depends on that. It's going to take that one coach to fall in love with the way he plays and say, you know what, we can make him even better. Let's get him in the 3rd round. But I think it's more likely 4th, 5th round.
That's fair to say.
Yeah.
5th round's pretty much where I peg him.
Yep. So,
early 5th round.
All righty, guys. That's our 10. Let's see. We do have a couple comments here. Let's get to them real quick, and then we're going to get the heck out of here like a tree. Connor says, 2 giant gray goofballs, gray shirts tonight, fellas. Soon your beards will be gray too. Not your basketball since you manscape. LOL.
Hey, this is blue. The hue's
like
a little off.
It does actually look gray here as well. I like how Connor's been around long enough to remember when we used to be sponsored by Manscaped like 2 years ago. Like 2 years ago, he's bringing this up from. Kudos, Connor. That just means you are the OG. You have the gray beard yourself.
The Silver Fox OG.
Connor says, hey, we just signed Aaron Rodgers. 2 years, $100 million. Pre-April Fool's joke. Well, I knew immediately. No way in hell.
Yeah.
Jay says, you guys should just name tonight's show. Let's chat our grievances with ownership. We'd get a lot more engagement than some college tight ends. But it wouldn't give you guys legit information either, Jay. Got to give legit information. So, it's that time of the year. We're going to go over all the players because, listen, some of these players we went over are going to be a giant, point blank. As Captain America says, there's a lot of good tight end in this draft. The Giants should get one. And it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Daniel Bellinger, I'm telling you, he's last year, rookie deal. He barely got used last year. I feel like he could be on the way out.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah. Madeline 19 says, hey, how you doing?
How you doing?
Thank you for subscribing on Twitch. I did see her subscribe on Twitch there. So I feel like I forget sometimes that we have we're on Twitch because we just don't really do much with Twitch. It's just kind of there.
Yeah.
Deb says she agrees with Jay. You want us just bash ownership over episodes? We can have an owner bashing episode here, okay?
John Mayer loves the Wisdom pick. Let me tell you.
We can do it. We can do it. We give the people what they want. We probably won't do it after the draft, sorry, because we do have to cover the draft still. Captain America says, I had high hopes for Bellinger. Listen.
Me too.
I think we all did after that first year. And I mean high. Like we don't mean like anybody thought he's going to be Pro Bowl caliber. We thought he'd be a legit tight end of this league. Whether it be a high tight end 2 or a low to mid end tight end 1. But, yeah, he just fell off the face of the earth basically the last couple of years. It's weird. Like the Giants wanted to use anybody but him basically last year.
Yeah, like I said.
It really makes you wonder if something's going on behind the scenes we just don't know. I really think that's what's going on. Too many things now. You see him twice now. And we said this with, players before, but sometimes you see a guy and you go like, is something going on because they keep trying to replace him? Darnay Holmes was that guy for a couple of years that the Giants kept on trying to replace every single year. And they finally did. Thanks, Drew Phillips. But with Bellinger, it was like, okay, we're going to get Darren Waller. Okay, that didn't work out. We're going to go ahead and get Theo Johnson. And, oh, yeah, we're going to go get Chris Manhurst, too, and make Bellinger the third tight end now. Like, whose leg does he have to hump around here to get a dry martini and some playing time? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, it was we did him dirty, especially after, like,
dirty
played down dirt cheap on a rookie deal.
Yep. Yep. Watch him be that guy that goes somewhere else and does really good. Watch it happen. Deb says, but it's fun to bitch. I know it. I do all the time. On and off camera.
Drew's fantastic at it.
Let me just tell you. All righty, guys. We're going to be back again for you guys Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, assuming nothing big happens Giant news-wise there, we'll be doing wide receivers probably for you on Monday. So keep an eye out. There's some really nice guys to talk about wide receiver-wise there. And the big debate for Travis Hunter will obviously be part of this. And I know people love debating Travis Hunter, so we'll be there for it. Again, as always, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter/X, and of course, Rob's favorite, my LinkedIn profile. And of course, as always, we are available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms. That is Spotify, Apple, Pandora, Amazon, all the big ones there, guys. So if you haven't already, hit the like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button there. Feel free to do it both on the audio and the video. That way you get to pick and choose how you want to listen to each episode there. Though the best place is always to watch it is YouTube. If you haven't already, like I said, though, tell a friend too. Let somebody know about the show, because point blank, without you all helping us, we don't go anywhere. We get no traction whatsoever, and we suck at marketing. So,
terrible.
All right, guys. So again, we're back again Monday for you. Have a happy, safe weekend there, everybody. And as always, Giant fans, go G-Man! Go
G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you.